He is the head coach at UTSA and done a marvelous job there in San Antonio. Great friend of the show. Great friend of mine, Jeff Traylor, on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Are you different during a game week?
I hope not. I think it's natural just to feel the butterflies and the adrenaline and the emotion starting to come on as the game just gets closer. But I don't want my players to ever feel that way. We try to attack every day like it is game day, David. But, you know, I'd be lying if I didn't say your sleep gets a little bit shorter, you're up a little quicker. But I think those are all good things because the Lord gives us that adrenaline for a reason. You're a little more focused in your meetings, a little more focused on your video, and maybe a little more irritable to house. I'd have to ask Care Bear about that.
Coach, as a Texan, coaching at a school in Texas, playing another school from Texas, and one with a great history like Houston the first week, what do matchups like this just mean to you personally that you get to be a part of it?
Well, as a fan and just a former high school football coach, you're just excited that somebody even let you in the door. I don't have to even buy a ticket, right? I get the best seat in the house. As a coach, it's a great test just to see where we are. You're playing a very good opponent right off the jump street. So you know about where your D-line is, your O-line, some kids you've recruited and developed, maybe some transfers. You just find out a little bit more. What's so uniquely different about college from the pro game and the high school game, in the high school game, we would have scrimmaged 2 weeks before we played our first game. In the National Football League, you get preseason games. In college, you just beat on each other since the last bowl game. So it's exciting to get out there and get to play one.
I've asked this question a lot to coaches for many years in college. Would you be for any kind of a scrimmage maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago in fall against another college team?
I would be for that. I don't know that I'd want to scrimmage as much as I would. Maybe if you could just get, you know, somebody you have a relationship with to come in here, we go there.
Yep.
And just thud it up. And you may just go scale, thud, or tag, and not even go to the ground, just to have somebody different to go against. It's the same when you're a high school coach. If you could get one of your buddies that wanted to work with you and you could get a really good scrimmage, those were a blast. Occasionally you got somebody that might not, you know, they're trying to make it to Super Bowl and it didn't go so well on that Friday or Thursday night. But if you could get somebody that had a commonality and just trying to get better, I think it'd be a fantastic addition.
Would you like the NFL now, I think, values their joint practices even more than their preseason games.
Yeah, like the Cowboys were in L.A. against the Chargers. They did have a game with them at the end of the week, but those 2 or 3 days, it seemed to be like gold, like you were saying.
Well, just imagine how tired our kids are going through 15 spring practices, and you go through all your fall camp practices. And like I've said this, I look at my notes. I'm a big journal guy, right? I've been a head coach now for 18 years. For 18 straight years, about this time of year, I said the exact same thing to our team. We're not really ready to play anybody else per se, but we need to play somebody else because we're tired of each other. Our O-linemen and D-line are just sick and tired going against each other. And obviously we're going to have our mistakes Saturday, but we're excited to go out there and just put the ball down and go play a little football.
I want to ask you this. I'll never forget one time, right before a Big 12 Media Day, Matt Rule was asked to fill out or send in a depth chart for the, you know, the media days. And I think he was on a beach in Florida and just started scribbling things down on a napkin. How do coaches handle the depth chart differently? Is it almost like more of a fan thing than it is a coach thing?
It's really a pain in the tail, to be honest with you, because, you know, it's just one of those things you don't want to have to deal with, but you got to deal with, and you just want to be nice to the media and help people out. You want to help your fans out, your boosters out. But no, if you probably ask coaches in private, I would imagine all of us would say we'd like to keep that stuff to ourselves and just show up and play the game. But I'm not going to have David Smoak on Smokey getting after me back in the day. I'm going to keep them all happy the best I can. And obviously, if you explain stuff to media, I think they're more patient with you. Like, look, I'm not going to release my starting quarterback because it gives me a distinct advantage. I think most media would cut that coach some slack. But it's just one of those necessary evils, in my opinion. Other than maybe my quarterback, or something weird like that, David, I would go ahead and release it. That's just my personal opinion.
Is it also, though, because I do think now a lot of coaches don't think in this guy is second and third team. Like everything is matchup based, right? So you don't think of a guy as the third team running back. You think of him as he's going to play in this matchup, right?
Well, I just put a bunch of ors on mine, right? I mean, you just put an or and or and or and or, and then you've helped the media and you've told the truth too. With all my guys I have on mine, I'm just speaking for myself. Those are guys we plan on playing, and there's guys that are going to play that aren't even we didn't even put on here. That I'm kind of curious why they're not on here. Honestly, probably because we didn't want to have 4 in the column, maybe 5 sometimes. We are very committed to doing that though. We're unique in that sense. Probably the high school coach in me. If you practice for us and we know you can help us, we're going to get you in a package and get you out there somehow the best we can.
You know, you've had success there, and last year, of course, you guys as a program took it to another level. You had success immediately in high school at Gilmer, and that was turning around what kind of was a place that was on and off, you know? Is there a thought that maybe you've had not too much success too early, but the standard now is set and it's going to be hard to match year in and year out?
Well, I've told you from learning from that experience, that was a great ride at Gilmer to go 6 wins and 8 wins and 10 and 13 and 16, right? Mm-hmm. Those next 10 years were an absolute grind because they wanted a state championship every single year. To your point, I'm afraid by hitting 12 already, which has only happened like 10 times in the history of the state of Texas, we probably set the bar way too high. And let's be honest, our first 3 opponents for the next 2 seasons. If you look at that, that's as daunting of a task as you could ever ask. And I've really talked to our players about we can't look at all 3 of those guys at once. We got to look at Houston. Let's get this one under our belt. Then we'll look at Army. Then we'll look at the University of Texas. But when you look at those 3, like bam, 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 you know, we have a really good football team here, David. I don't know if our record's going to reflect it, but we've got a good football team.
If you were the AD, would you put that schedule together?
If I didn't know she gave me a 10-year contract, I think she was trying to get rid of me, to be honest with you. I would imagine that was done long before she got here.
Right.
These things are done so far in advance. But for us to play 2 Power 5 schools plus Army, you know, that's pretty daunting, right? But, you know, it's kind of like being the old high school coach in me again. I know no college guys want to ever say this, but they're non-conference ball games, right? When you have that ultra against Middle Tennessee, on the road, game 5, we're going to know where we are, and that's the one that matters the most, to be very honest with you.
What have you had to learn, and did you learn what you needed about your team in August?
Well, I mean, the coach talk is, yes, we've learned it all, right? Because we're such geniuses as coaches. The truth is you really don't know till you go play the game. And there's just still stuff. I've said this forever, and it drives my coaches insane. The only reason you practice is so you can go screw it up in the game. And then when you get the game film, that's when you got to get a lot better. Game 1 to game 2 is such a great indication of how much better you are as a team, as a coaching staff. But I wish I could tell you I knew all the answers, David. I will say this. My first year, I knew no answers because I didn't have a spring and my team was totally new, right? Mm-hmm. Last year, I had 21 starters returning out of 22. I knew what I had going into that Illinois game. This year is more like a normal coach, right? You lost about 6 starters on defense. You lost Sincere McCormick, Spencer Burford on offense, a great tight end, Leroy Watson. I lost a great kicker in Hunter Duplessis. So this is more of a normal season where you don't quite know what you have for sure. But after we get to playing the Cougars Saturday at 6:30, 6 o'clock, whenever that game's over, we'll know a whole lot more where we are, David.
Jeff, your fan base loves UTSA, Birds Up, all that, what you've created there, the excitement in that town. To circle the wagon, so to speak, in your backyard. Can you try to explain, are they even better and more entrenched and focused on you than the program, than you thought it could be?
I'm a dreamer, David. From the outside looking in, when I was at the University of Texas, I thought this thing was a gold mine. I always loved coming to visit San Antonio. You know, there's just so many things for recruiting advantages, I thought the Alamo was a tremendous advantage. And the fan base is starving for football. All we've got is the Spurs here. And there's just a good community. It just fits me. It's a very, very big city, obviously. It's the 7th largest city in the country. But it's got a small town feel. Everybody knows everybody here. it's just a good fit for Carrie and I and my family. And, I love this place. I really do. We love being in the hill country, and I love it. And there's no better way to describe it than just that's how I feel about this place, David.
Have you learned something about San Antonio perhaps that you didn't know when you first arrived?
Maybe I didn't know it was such a small town feel, but such a big city. That was probably different for me. I did anticipate the loyalty and the family aspect. I saw how they treated the Spurs for so many years and how good they were to those guys. So that's not been shocking to me at all. I didn't really realize how new the program was. I mean, you hear about it only being 10 or 11 years old, but when you start trying to build one, and you don't have the alumni base, the boosters that, for 100 years, right? That might have been something that was a little different for me, but man, we're picking up fans. It's why we were intentional going for the city of San Antonio. We want to be the team of San Antonio, not just the team of UTSA.
I don't know if it's the same answer for most coaches. I asked this to Dave Aranda earlier today. What does he like better, practice or game day? And he said practice. What do you like better?
When I was young, it was the game for sure. But now it's the preparation. It's the getting ready. It's just building a team. I will admit I love putting my headsets on because it's 4 hours of just peace and tranquility because I'm not getting bothered by a bunch of things I really don't want to do. Not that talking to David Smoak would ever be one of those things, but those other type of things you don't like to do during the week. Mm-hmm. So when you put those headsets on, it's just peace. And you and your guys, and it's just a great, great, peaceful 4 hours, especially when your guys are celebrating in that locker room. There's nothing worse than going in that locker room, though, and seeing 110 young men just destroyed when you've worked that hard all week, David.
Last thing, Coach Jeff, good friend, great friend, and wish you the best, my man. Would you think that the headset discussion among coaches on the staff in the box, up above, or on the sideline would be a great reality show?
The best, the absolute best. I think it'd be a great fundraiser. I bet you could get 100,000 from some fan just to sit on one of those for one whole game. I would have to be a very, very trusted fan that I knew that I would not get everything out of there. I'll tell this quick story and I'll let you go. Our very first game against Texas State, back when we were having COVID, we had we had to wear those things over our mouths. And I lost my temper once. And when, ESPN zoomed in on me pretty good. And we had just won in triple or double overtime, whatever it was, David. As soon as the game's over, my mother, a long text, that if you're going to talk like that on the sideline, put your mask back over your mouth because you embarrassed your mother and your father. So I don't know that we'd want everybody to know exactly what's being said, but it'd be a great, great show, David.
It's like NASCAR fans. They have the headsets where they can hear the pit crew and the driver and all that. I don't know if that would be something that you probably have to put that up on YouTube. I don't think that could be on TV or radio, but I just thought that would be that to me would be something I'd love to listen to.
David, you were so innovative in starting Smokey all those years ago. You might be onto something again.
Hey, man, and you're innovative with what you're doing. Appreciate you during the game week. I really do. Thanks very much, buddy, for being a part of the show. Good luck.
You're the best.
Thank you.
For many years. Appreciate you, David. God bless. Birds up.
There you go. Jeff Traylor, head coach at UTSA. And last year, 12 wins. Did you hear that nugget he mentioned that in the state of Texas, college football history, there has only been like 10 or 12 teams to get to 12 wins? I don't know if that's at the Division I level or what is now the FBS level, because there's obviously Mary Hardin. Baylor's ripped off double digits to 10 or 12, whatever, 13, whatever they've done many times, national championships. But